Public art tells a story that creates a shared sense of identity. Because it is outdoors, usually out in the open, it is there for everyone to see. And, over time, it becomes embedded in our everyday lives. Gradually, the meaning of public art changes because each artwork is intrinsically attached to its environment, its people, and its architecture. What I've always found interesting in this regard is that in creating a sense of familiarity or commonality for a particular community or geographic area, public art inevitably creates a sense of distinction from other communities or geographic areas. Often this is fairly subtle, but it can also be explicit. In other words, public art tends to galvanize a shared sense of meaning from broadly diverse peoples who live in its experiential realm. And in doing so, it creates a sense of cultural variance or variation from other experiential realms of public art.
The Old East Village is one of London's oldest neighbourhoods that stems from industrial and blue-collar beginnings where creative ingenuity flourished and informed a social, economic, and artistic climate that is still very much present today. OEV has long since been a hub for both the production and consumption of the arts. Many individuals and organizations throughout the decades work to manifest a collective mindset that places creative aspirations at the center of an ongoing conversation that's publicly had through art. So now, we'll look back to trailblazers and forward to current producers to hear how they've represented and spoken to many communities through their work and how they've made a meaningful contribution to an existing and ever-growing inventory of public art in OEV.
OEV has been a creative magnet for decades. In fact, the arts and the art community has been a key element of revitalization since the very beginning. Early adopter, Bill Lishman of Flyaway Home and Vancouver Expo 86 sculptor fame, actually had a personal connection with and personal relationship with Western Fair District in the 80s. And through that partnership, created 5 sculptures made from recycled iron farm equipment, which, as we know, is a process well ahead of its time. These 5 farm animals represented in Lishman's work can be found today on Western Fair grounds, mostly in Queen's Park. Those pieces led way for spaces like Banting House, Clayworx, and other local artists to contribute an increasing amount of public art in OEV as the years have passed and even until today.
The art is a really interesting aspect of our exhibit program here. We know Banting for this great man for the discovery of insulin, but we don't know that he has this artistic side that actually began here in London as a struggling physician. This grew into a passion, a hobby, an escape mechanism, and really came into play for him when he became good friends with members of the Group of 7, Lauren Harris, and then later A.Y. Jackson. Some of the art in the public square, one of the pieces that we really like, our recent addition, is the mural on the side of the building, and its interpretation of Banting's 25 words that he wrote in this house, and his interpretation of one of Dr. Banting's paintings. It's sort of our 2 raison d'etres for the house. Another aspect is the globe, which was created to commemorate the 90th anniversary of the discovery of insulin and insulin as Canada's gift to the world. And of course, our big highlight is the life-size statue of Dr. Banting, created by John Mishnikowski, depicting Banting here in the house, writing his 25-word hypothesis.
Simon Shagelman's work is an example of the artist as the hands of a community. He brought a deep understanding of what it means to live with outsider narratives about who people are. He was really able to listen and differentiate between the stories he'd heard outside the neighbourhood and the stories that he heard inside the neighbourhood. He undertook historical research, and you can see that on the maps on the piece. He invited local people to review each work in progress, seeking agreement and offering advice about what the final art piece should look like. The final artwork visually integrated and elevated our work to capture the Old East Village's creativity, as well as profile 3 of our economic drivers, which are one-of-a-kind shopping, arts and culture, and food and drink.
Clayworx is responsible for bringing Mosaic public art to Old East Village. The Indwell Embassy Commons mosaic titled Hope, Love and Belonging consists of 3 panels representing a desired life cycle for its residents and for all of us. Panel 1 depicts the dawn, a symbol of new beginnings. The center panel shows a midday sun, a flowing river, and blooming flowers, representing a thriving, love-filled life. And finally, in panel 3, we see birds in the sunset, symbolizing peace and belonging. Each of the large, colorful flower tiles was created by a different community group. Participants helped to roll out the clay, cut out the shapes, and then decorate the tiles with stamping and painting. The artists who led the tile creation workshops gave guidance, and participants were encouraged to tell their stories and use words and images that would inspire the residents of Embassy Commons. Mosaic is an excellent medium for public art and telling the story of a community because it visually demonstrates how all the unique parts come together to be a beautiful, multifaceted entity. And Mosaic is perfect as an emblem of Old East Village because there are so many interesting, colorful facets making up this community.
In 2020, difficult times shuttered many businesses and a global trend quickly arose, commissioning artists to beautify boarded storefronts. In OEV, 10 neighborhood artists brought color to the Dundas corridor with positive imagery distinct to their own style. These paved the way for future projects, as well as the Only an OEV Culture Cruise, which celebrates all of the arts and culture offerings that are entirely unique to this neighborhood. With these temporary murals, it all started at 616 Dundas Street.
At that time, I was an artist and I was excited to do a mural, but now I would say I'm a muralist. I started with the mountain ranges and then really built it up from there because I really wanted it to have a very strong structure. I added a giant red circle, a rising sun in the center as a way of having a focal point, and the mountains all point towards the sun. And then I wanted to include, being an OEV, I really wanted to include a lot of indigenous plants naturally grow in this region, right in the middle of an urban landscape.
The OEV Main Street Mural Program grew from the temporary mural program that started in 2020 to lift spirits on the street and decorate boarded storefronts due to the pandemic. The Old East Village BIA received funding from the Main Street Community Activator Program to establish 5 permanent murals in the village and create tangible opportunities for local artists. This program paired 10 artists to complete the murals, created in partnership with property owners and businesses in Old East Village. The program has a unique focus on community building and artist mentorship. It also focused on creating the opportunity for artists who are from underrepresented communities, women, LGBTQ+, and from Black, Indigenous, or racialized communities. The mural installations were a key activation in the community event series Only in OEV Fridays, which happened every second Friday in the summer of 2022.
Everyone knows K-Laba on OEV, and so we had to represent that as well. We tried to find out why they named K-Laba in the first place. It's actually from an indigenous Ganda language, the indigenous Ganda language of from the Bantu language family in Uganda, and it meant transparency and recognizable product quality. We have a little house there with a heart right in the middle, meaning that everyone deserves a home. And we are actually hoping that everyone that is out there that doesn't have one would be able to get one in time. But I really wanted it to be the best we could do. And hopefully that is what everyone sees when they see that we give it our all.
So Amara was a visual artist with a history in OEV and many friends in London. Blowing dandelion seeds is supposed to be a way to gain good luck or good fortune. And then the flowering vines, which are twisting upwards, are kind of evoking growth into sunlight and maybe into a brighter time for everyone.
Over the years, many projects and endeavors have resulted in an increased number of public artworks in the area, and this includes the many community contributions from neighborhood business and property owners, as well as local artists who helped continue this growth of art and creativity in OEV.
I think the significance of my piece is it's just a little mural, but it's bright and colorful, and I think it can provide a nice little ray of sunshine on any cloudy day. Overall, it's cutesy characters for the most part, but if you peel apart the layers, there's more to it than just that.
This mural was the pilot mural for our grassroots self-funded program, and Back to the Fuchsia entrusted us with creative control. We wanted to paint something that reflected the realities of the neighborhood. The phrase, "rise and shine," was designed to hold multiple meanings. For local business owners, the message is an optimistic one. We're open for business. But for our many neighbors living in shelters or who have spent time in institutions, it reflects society's desire to tell them where to be and when. Of course, when you look closely at the imagery, you might wonder if the early bird gets the worm, or if the early worm gets the bird. It's a fun and cute morning greeting. And of course, for the Wet Paint Initiative, it marked the beginning of many future murals.
Last September, I was invited to come to London and paint a mural to tribute Roxy, who's a restaurant owner, but she's so much more than that. She does a lot to help the local unhoused people, and she's got really an incredible story. We had a conversation, and I learned a lot about her past and what she does for the community, and I was just so inspired by what an incredible human being she is. Even on the darkest days, the stars shine their brightest, and it was just a fantastic experience meeting the community and bringing that art to London.
For several decades, creativity and art have been intrinsic to the identity of OEV through these visual examples and many additional art spaces, such as the Palace Theatre, Aeolian Hall, and the aforementioned Clayworx, Banting House, and Western Fair. This identity and inventory has been building for decades and brings together many individuals, communities, skills, and media. Whether through small or large-scale murals, clay tiles, or metal sculpture, each person, group, or organization has their place in the telling of this neighborhood narrative that is ever-evolving. These works capture the essence of this neighborhood, documenting the past and looking to the future while celebrating the diverse creativity found along Dundas on the Only an OEV culture cruise.